president of the County Association as of June.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We think that's a congratulations.
Yeah, well, it's like,
And Ron Miller, longtime firefighter and fire instructor down at fire school. I think most of you know Ron somehow or another. We went out for bid April 1st around, and by the end of April we had the bids back. And as you see there on the on this handout, you have the prices of what they all came in at. Basically from $372,000 for RLS construction all the way up to $496,000 from Premier Construction. A gentleman by the name of Bill Glover. Bill Glover is the gentleman that does the high temperature linings. He's also an engineer himself, and he's done a lot of burn buildings himself. And he felt that that number was actually right on what it should be. Everybody else was just basically marking, it's just all markup, really. So we obviously went with RLS Construction. And Elliott, LaBeouf, and McElwain is our architect slash engineer. They are based out of Virginia. As I stated in the email, they've done probably hundreds of burn buildings all over the country. They're building one, they're redoing the one down in Texas A&M right now. And they're building one over in Saudi Arabia, I think it is.
And where is RLS located?
Gillsboro. They're doing, and maybe you're familiar, I don't know what you're involved with out at the VA. I don't know if anything, but they're doing a ton of the work out there. It was initially done. We ran into some concrete and old burn prop that was on the grounds where we're building the building at, and that had to be removed, and we had to bring some land, some soil in, some rock, stone in to help fill that hole up. So that's where that change is. High temperature. Martin Geotechnical, they're out of Ephrata. It's Tim Martin, and there's not a lot of testing facilities around here, or testing agencies around here. Those are approximate numbers because obviously his numbers are based on time and material. So however many cylinders he breaks for concrete testing is going to obviously depending on the price of that. Demo of the old burn building, don't know. In a way, I hate to say it, I'm really not worried about it right now. I'm trying to get a new burn building built. I mean,
You can?
we can use the lining. In fact, the high temperature linings of 154, we're hoping that that number is going to come down. It's not going to go up.
I thought there was some, it wasn't the lining then itself, it was the structure around it.
It was the structure around the lining, correct.
Okay.
Now there was some lining that was damaged from freezing, the moisture that got into the building and then freezing and then popping the tile off. But not a lot to where, we're not going to use as much in this burn building as we did in that burn building. There they, like a burn room, they lined the entire room. Floor, walls, ceiling, everything. This burn building, they don't do that. They line the ceiling with where the concrete's at. They line obviously the floor, which is really just fire brick, and then some walls, but not all of the walls. The walls are what they consider expendable. It's cheaper to build a cinder block wall for a couple dollars a square foot than it is to tile a wall, which is $70, $80 a square foot.
Try to maintain it. Right?
Try to maintain it fine.
Okay.
I think obviously our burn building is going to be just like Franklin County's. We've gone down there and looked at it. There's been some modifications at our,
Remind us where you're getting the money for this.
from everyone.
No, but didn't you have 100 from your
We
system?
had 100 from us, and we have 500 from you guys.
Okay.
So
You're still within that budget then.
we're still within that budget.
And what's your timetable for starting to draw money down from this?
We actually would like to submit this week. If we get the paperwork in, we'd like to get it in this week for some of it. We've had quite a few expenses already, obviously. Right now is the first floor slab has been poured, the columns have been poured, and then next week they're going to pour the second floor slab.
Don't want to interrupt.
No.
But I guess I really feel I need to say something, and I tried to be straightforward before when I was talked, and I ended up being attacked, and this is not going to be any easier. I 100% support rebuilding the burn building. But I also know we have to do things the right way, for the right reasons. And after I lost the vote in the fall, which I tried to explain, it wasn't a mean vote, it was trying to be practical. I tried to be gracious, and I signed the contract so that this could move forward. And as time went on, I came to realize that the money for this project was coming from the wrong funding. It's really coming from tourism dollars, is my understanding.
Part of it. Right.
Part of it, yeah. Yeah, not the whole thing. I don't want to mislead you. And so, if you've done grants before, which I think you have, when you get a grant, a lot of times there's categories within which you can spend money. And so the money that has been collected for tourism that got designated to build the burn building, every year when we do audits, the auditor will ask us, is there anything you're aware of that doesn't feel right or that you think needs some extra attention? And I said, really, I need to make sure that we don't put the county in a really bad financial situation. Can you please review this and make sure that if we spend this money from the tourism money, that down the road the county's not going to get slapped and have to pay it back, plus fines and penalties and interest and whatever else. I have not heard a response from him on that yet. I don't know if anyone else has. But I feel I need to share that with you because, I don't want to hide. I mean, it's the truth, and I don't want to hide it from you.
Can I just,
Yeah.
but that would be our problem, I think. That shouldn't be your problem. We committed to, or it was committed to, by the old board for $500,000. So if we get a statement from an auditor that says 130 of it can't be used because, I think that's on us to find
To
it.
come up with that somewhere. I don't think, I think.
Because you got, that would be a heck of a thing to renege on that.
Yeah.
If that's what you're saying,
I'm just saying
we didn't discuss that previously, and my point is, the way it is now, it would not be appropriate. It might not be appropriate for some of that money because it was specifically allocated from money put aside when we did the comprehensive plan for implementation. And that money specifically came from the tourism dollars. Now, if we're going to redo the whole thing, then that's something we need to discuss and vote upon, if indeed we need to. Maybe the auditor will say, the way the regulations, and Jamie thinks perhaps they're okay, but we have to make sure. We don't want to come back with a black eye after the fact. We want to do the right thing up front, so.
Well, I think, I know Commissioner LItz was opposed to it when it passed with the prior board. And as she indicated, not because we have anything against firefighters, and there's not one of us here that
We
we
appreciate
want
very
you.
much
We want
what
you
you
to have
folks do.
this. We appreciate
Yes.
your efforts.
And I
And
wanted
your
to go-
association.
Yes.
I think Commissioner Phillips and I know we had some issues too with using money that is designated essentially by law for tourism in the county, and the two prior commissioners decided that they could change the rules. Now, there was an opinion from our solicitor that I think a quote was, "You made the rules, so you can change the rules."
That's
That-
pretty good close.
That dealt with the categorical funding available in the comp plan. In other words, there was a certain amount. I don't know.
It was to be done in smaller increments.
But
Yeah,
if the
okay.
money
I
comes
remember
from
the
the hotel
categories,
tax,
yeah.
But
that's where it's,
Well, it wasn't specific to where the source of the money, it was specific to how it was being divvied up,
Right.
and that was waived by the last board.
So, I think, you know, as Commissioner Litz says, it's certainly something that we would have to work out as a board.
Because we
But
want to
I,
do things right.
but I
Which is right.
think we're obligated, you guys certainly hope we're obligated to pay for this building, I know. I think that's been part of my issue. My other issue is, and, you know, I talked at length with Mr. Killian, about what my issues were, and my issues were that I felt, as the present board, we're the ones that you have to deal with. We're the ones that you're looking to now for support, and we were totally out of the loop. And that, it's not, I don't think any of us are on a power trip. It's not that we need recognition. We just felt, from the time you had the groundbreaking ceremony, and, you know, not even a phone call or an email say, hey, we're gonna throw some dirt out here, maybe you guys wanna show up, to, you know, the thing's well underway, and we never have any communications. And now, don't take this the wrong way, but now today you're saying, hey, we need this money next week, and now you're here. Now, I think part of the reason that you're here is because you want to make this right. I think that's part of it. But you're also here now because you need the money, and again, I have that same conflict within myself, saying, you know, and like I said, I don't think we're on a power trip, but I think we're due
The communication
respect,
is not there.
the respect of the proper communication. So we certainly want to
In fact,
stay on the right course going forward.
in fact, I think that we're supposed to be getting reports through the planning department because it was comprehensive plan money, and I don't know if anything's come in or when it's due. You know, but
It
quarter,
was requested.
and I don't know that we've seen anything. You know, pictures, you know, receipts like you showed us, or summaries like you showed us today, anything. But I don't know that we've seen anything the whole time.
I know that the last board suspended the guidelines, okay, so I don't know how that plays into this. What the guidelines said was, once the contract is signed, there's supposed to be a biannual report, and it's as generic as that.
Well, what's your timeline for completion of the building?
End of October.
It's going to be. Can you
That-
have someone here on a monthly basis at one of
We
these
can.
meetings to bring us up to date with
Sure.
those
I think that'd be.
post-construction meetings?
Right, yes.
Would you like to see the site as it's going up?
I definitely would, but
Okay. So we clear on
Is anybody-
communication. That's anything that you think before it would be, you know, we'd see it in the paper. It'd be
Right.
nice to have a heads up.
Yeah.
You know, just the
No offense
courtesy
to
of
the
that
paper.
kind of thing. Just the courtesy of that, because it's a short window here. We got till October, and you know, it's good. The relationship we want to build
Right.
on our relationship.
So do we.
Yeah.
And that's our goal. Our goal is public service, and we also want to provide public service to you guys and gals.
Association, I want to thank you for the support you've given us in the past. That doesn't mean a lot. I mean, I'm only on a one-year term, and unfortunately, I apologize for anything that may have
Thank you. That's very much
Alright, with you.
appreciated.
um,
I do appreciate that.
I mean, there was some concern because Larry was there. Larry's part of my committee, so you guys know that. Larry has been a big help for me.
and I don't think any of us here want to take away what
Right.
Larry has done for the firefighting community. There's no question about that either.
And I'm not sure I want to revisit the murky waters of why certain people were invited and certain, if they were in the old board, weren't. But so let's just, you know, let's start anew. And I appreciate the apology. That was.
I don't know if this is accurate or not, but something I've heard over the years is that what may have contributed to the last building, soil and the construction, all that, but also improper use of the burning. No,
No.
that didn't, okay.
And that's come up, it's not just come up with you, it's come up with other people too.
Okay. Let me finish the question,
Go ahead.
because then if that's not, even if it's not the case, I assume you have some sort of procedures and somebody enforces how it's utilized.
Yes.
In other words, no accelerants and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
And NFPA 1403 is a standard, a national standard for burn building construction, and operation of the burn ban.
Operation, okay,
And that will be rigidly enforced. And it has been in the past, but
okay, so that was rumored,
it
but that
wasn't a
wasn't,
matter of
okay.
like,